platform has been used by over 1 million students, purchased from us after 7 years of pre-sales.
Today on the show, I have Maxim Azarov, who is the CEO of Novakid, one of the fastest growing ed companies that teach kids around the world English.
You don't have to convince people to buy your stuff. During COVID, we grew 7 times. Either you find a better way to promote or you just charge more. If customers are not willing to pay enough for you to justify marketing costs, then you don't have a product market fit.
And today, Maxim will share how Novakid became a success, what is his story, how he started his first business, and then how he started Novakid. Generally, he will share his advice that will help many entrepreneurs who are looking to build a B2C startup or a business in EdTech. Maxim, amazing to have you today on the show. I would love you to tell me what is Novakid? What is the business Novakid?
Well, basically, we're helping kids to learn English better, to know English better, to be more fluent, and when they grow up, to basically have more opportunities to engage globally in the workforce. To find a dream job, maybe an engineer at Google, or maybe an artist for some global art company. So there's so many opportunities when you can look at things globally, not just within your country. And that's what we're trying to give to the kids of the future.
Oh my, very good, ambitious goal. And what are the numbers? Like, how many students do you have? How many kids learn in your platform? Like, what's the numbers?
Yeah, so to date, our platform has been used by over 1 million students. And we delivered, I think, over 20 million classes all in all. And in terms of kind of the scale of the business, so you asked for some revenues, we can disclose ARR, basic annual run rate. So we're approaching 100 million ARR at this point. So what else? We're profitable, so we're EBITDA positive. Actually, we're it's slightly like within low two-digit EBITDA right now. We're not really optimizing for it. We're still a growth startup, so actually we're trying to push EBITDA to zero. I mean that's our goal. Basically, when you optimize growth, that's what you do, right? So you try to trade off. To get higher growth, hopefully at in today's world, you probably don't want to go negative. So hopefully at as low EBITDA as possible. So if you have, and that's what we're trying to do today. So basically, try to keep EBITDA positive but low, and try to keep growth high as possible. So at the moment, growing roughly about 40% year on year. I would say we're probably. In the top league within our segment as far as the growth rates go. Obviously there are some companies that grow faster than this, but I would say within EdTech, have at this scale that we're at right now, growing at 40% year on year. That's a big achievement. So kudos to the team who's making this possible. So that's kind of the overall. And I would say in terms of the scale, we're probably the still largest school, online school for kids that teaches English in Europe at this point. I would say this is the Novakid for you.
So people, listen closely to Max, okay? What is about the team size? How many employees? How many engineers?
So at this point, I think overall it's about 400 Novakiders that are making all this possible. Engineering-wise, probably about 60 to 70 of that are engineers. We also have a large group of customer support managers. We have some sales managers, some teacher support managers, because in addition to Novakiders, we also have close to almost, I would say, 4,000 teachers that are working with us to actually deliver those class experiences that, those live classes that kids enjoy. That's where we are. let's say, pretty sizable in terms of teachers and Novakiders as well.
Very Novakiders. That's how you call your team members. I can, right?
Yeah.
Interesting naming. How does the business work, and how does the business make money? I see. Okay, there are costs to parents to get lessons, and how does the kind of maybe like more nuance? How does the business model work?
Well, it's really pretty straightforward. So we charge a subscription to the parents, and that's how we make money. So nothing too fancy on the business model department. We do provide a free trial class. So if somebody wants to experience Novakid, they can do it absolutely free of charge. You don't even need to give us any like credit card details or anything. So very much kind of a obligation-free experience. You try it, but most parents actually end up buying it. So I think our conversion rates, depending on the region, can be as high as 50%. So 50% of those who try actually go on to buy a subscription.
Interesting. I think in this kind of B2C space, the big players are now this school platform and this VOP platform, and they have noticed a lot of churn, high churn for B2C. What has been your experience with Novakids about churn, and what are you doing to maybe lower churn, which seems to be working?
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, our experience has been that the churn is getting lower for us every year. So our product team, our customer care team have a very, I would say, talented people who are working on this and making sure that the experience is flawless. So we don't see any, let's say, increase or any deterioration on this front. And how you do it, you just methodically work on this issue. You figure out like why your customers are unhappy, why are they churning away, and you do what you can to get the product better, reduce the pain, and eliminate pain points, and keep your customers happy.
Is there some tactical things that you are doing that you say, okay, this is like a minimum thing every business would need to have to lower the churn? And I mean, in a sense that, hey, how to spot it, how to spot some issues before they happen. Because when a customer churns, then maybe it's not so much opportunity to fix it. You just lost it.
Yeah. I think what's important is there's really no like one thing that you need to do usually. Usually what you need to do is make sure you have a process for actually methodically reducing the churn, right? Which means that you need to identify some churn prediction metrics. So basically, which customer behaviors lead to them churning away. So and usually it's something that is completely obvious. So for example, in our case, one completely obvious thing that customers start doing is they start skipping classes, right? So students stop showing up for classes. The absenteeism increases, and then basically okay, something is going on. They probably gonna because obviously if they skip classes, the next step is to cancel subscription, right? So essentially, then you have operational metric that you can very easily measure, and essentially set quarterly goals to your team and really chip away at it every single month. Every single quarter, get it lower, make sure that you have, cut out any rough spots, any friction, any issues that affect this metric. And eventually you get there.
We're going to go back, Maxim, on Novakids, the business. I'm very curious. Like, how did you become an entrepreneur? Like, what was your story? How did you kind of become an entrepreneur?
Well, I think one of the kind of reflecting back on it, I think one of the main reasons that pushed me into this is I was a really bad employee. I wasn't that good. I'm kind of bad at following authority. I'm usually not really nice to my bosses. So I'm a really bad person to be to be a report to somebody. So just eventually I realized that I'm a lot happier when I don't really have a boss, when I'm kind of more on my own. And I had this opportunity to kind of embark on this journey. So together with my partner, we actually partnered up for our first business, which was, I think, more than 15 years ago. So that was some time ago, and since then, kind of went on and evolved, and that's how I got involved with Novakid as well.
Can you maybe expand on your first business? What was it? What did you do?
Yeah. So initially, we started off with a B2B business. So we actually work not just B2B, but it's like B2E, business to enterprise. So we would sell to essentially telecoms, a cloud storage software, so that they could offer something similar to Google Cloud or something similar to Apple Cloud for consumers. So basically something where you could store your photos, potentially documents and things like that. And obviously, it's quite ubiquitous nowadays. But believe it or not, it is still a sizable business. So some customers do purchase the services from mobile carriers, even though a majority, admittedly, are doing it from Apples and Googles, because it's just kind of bundled in, and in some cases you don't even get a choice, right? But some customers actually do purchase from carriers, and this is what so basically usually our technology is behind enabling this, because carriers are typically not so good at actually product development. They're usually good at just taking something that's there and kind of putting it in their sales channel. And that's kind of what we started off. It was interesting. It was difficult as well, because selling to enterprise can be grueling. Some sales cycles can be like literally years long. And I think our kind of biggest, let's say, anti-record was, I think, one of the carriers purchased from us after 7 years of pre-sales.
Oh my goodness.
So, and I got so tired of this that basically I just had to do something else, and this is why we went B2C, so which is a lot kind of more fast-paced, and you get a lot faster feedback from your customers. You don't need to wait for 7 years for somebody to buy your product.
And how did and so basically after the first business, which was B2E, then you started Novakid?
Yeah, pretty much. It was actually, so the first business is still, alive and well. It's still, operating, and it's still actually one of the, leading providers of the technology. So I'm, quite proud that we built a lasting company that, been around for 15 years and still going on. But, Novakid basically started, and that's so about 7 years ago. Had to try something new, so we had some engineering resource which we could deploy to this. So very quickly built an MVP, I would say within probably under 6 months, and started testing it, selling it, and it clicked. So there was really it turned out that there was really an opportunity.
What were the signs, maybe, when you say it clicked? What are maybe the signs, or what do you remember as the signs?
Well, the signs that we were able to start monetizing it pretty much straight away. So right away, we could find customers that were willing to pay for this stuff, right? And a lot of them were very excited. So kind of started gaining momentum. It didn't feel like we had to push it too much. It felt like there was a pull from the market. So usually that's kind of the sign of product market fit. When you feel there's a pull, you don't have to convince people to buy your stuff. You don't have to do some really weird sales magic to actually get them excited about the product. They just can show up and they buy it. I think that's usually the product market fit sign. And of course, we were extremely helped by by COVID. So obviously, it was a difficult time for a lot of people, but for online businesses, that was a game changer when suddenly you were the only game in town as far as the kind of education goes, and this helped a lot by essentially just putting this online education in front of the people and just showing them that, hey, it actually works and it's actually convenient. You should give it a try. So I think during COVID, we grew like literally 7 times, something like that. It was a hyper growth moment for us. So yeah, that's kind of how Novakid came about. It's a little bit of timing luck as well, right? Because if we started it, maybe a little bit too early, then I'm not sure if we were able to raise capital so efficiently, right? So we started just at the right time to be at the right scale when the COVID hit, so that we could hyperscale and then kind of go on. So a little bit of luck there as well.
And Maxim, I watched the reel where you mentioned this, and at the end of the reel, you said that the COVID hit, grew like crazy, got funding, I think around 40 million euros funding, and then you said the problem started to happen because COVID started to end, and the reel disappeared. Maybe what happened after COVID? Because maybe what happened?
Well, I think it's not just COVID. It's actually a lot of things. I think there was this financial crisis, and then was cooling down of VC funding. So just at some point, we realized that, hey, the tailwind actually has disappeared. So we're actually not growing as fast as we used to. The funding outlook looks pretty bleak. I mean, there's really no guarantee we can raise more capital. And we're actually burning money quite fast. So we, overextended in terms of hiring people. We were not really good in efficiency as far as the marketing spend versus the pricing, right? So we were not really the unit economic actually were off, did not make sense at the time. So we had to actually get a little bit back to the drawing board and just kind of rethink how much we charge for the product, how much can we afford to spend on marketing. And I think we spent, so basically this mistake, I would say, cost us about 1 year of during this year, we essentially had to kind of downsize the company significantly. We had to do some layoffs, unfortunately. We had to really get very meticulous and serious about tracking unit economics, make sure that the pricing makes sense, the customer acquisition cost makes sense. We had to become much better at measuring our LTV, predicting LTV, because with the LTV, the tricky part is that it's a very lagging indicator. So if you want to use it operationally, you actually need to learn how to predict it, not to use your 12 months from now LTV, which is already old news. So we had to do all this, and thankfully we were able to do it. And within 1 year, we kind of turned the ship around. We became break even and then profitable, and then the growth restarted. So that was kind of the I would say happy ending for Novakid.
Interesting. When you talk about these things, because I understand, okay, the acquisition channels, I can imagine a majority is paid. It's fixed or it's always growing. It's getting higher. Your fee for the teacher who is teaching also maybe fixed. But what did you kind of changed, or what can you say to other founders that they could understand, okay, how to switch it? I can give one example. So I also have a software product, which is kind of like a small CRM tool for local businesses. And my costs of selling more units is very small. I just need to pay engineering team and maybe some hosting, but it's minor. And then all other costs is like advertising. So how can I get, I guess, CAC to my first 30-day income to 1? And if it's 1, it's amazing. I can just pump in gas. But what would your advice be in this kind of scenarios? Like, like thinking wise?
Well, I think first of all, you need to really start measuring this well, right? So you need to really, as you mentioned, you need to start measuring your LTV to understand really what is the value of the customer that you're acquiring. You need to start measuring your margins. So contribution margin is something that, in your case may not be as critical, but obviously for us more critical because, depending on what's your cost of goods, right? So the contribution margin might also be an important metric. And at that point, it's just very simple. I mean, either you find a better way to promote, right? Or you just charge more. So, I mean, there's really nothing too fancy about it. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs they're afraid of charging more. But at some point, you just have to look reality. Face the reality, right? If customers are not willing to pay enough for you to justify marketing costs, then you don't have a product market fit. Because part of the product market fit is actually pricing, right? Not just the product. So if you cannot sell the product at the price that makes sense economically, then you do not have a product market fit.
Oh, interesting that how you said it that way. Yeah, it's interesting because you can get customers if you undercharge a lot because they just see like the value to the price. They're like, okay, but it doesn't make sense business wise. And then okay, it's very interesting how you said that.
And I think in case of Novakid, definitely we had this. So we were actually undercharging for the product. So what we ended up doing, we ended up increasing our prices quite a bit. And it actually helped us in many ways. So we actually got So it did. So we did get some conversion reduction in terms of the how much you convert from your traffic. But on the flip side, we actually get higher quality customers who retain better with us, right? So which is may sound a little counterintuitive. Why would somebody retain if you charge them more? But what sometimes ends up happening is you get different customers. You get customers who are actually willing to pay more, who actually value your product more, and as a result, you actually get like this double win. Yeah, you get better price per month, and you get better retention profile, which means that your LTV growth is even better.
Good advice. When you switched from your first business to Novakids, how big was the first business, which is still operational?
Yeah, it's very small. It's I think right now it maybe under $3 million ARR.
When you switched, do you remember that time? How big was it when you kind of transitioned?
Maybe 2. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not really growing very fast. So that's the tricky part about this kind of business, right? It's pretty stable, but it's difficult to grow.
And now I want to ask you, what are some of the beliefs that you need to have to be able to build a business that can do upwards of 100 million annual recurring revenue in this kind of B2C, I maybe say consumer space or ed space, but like what kind of beliefs do you need to have in order to do it?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's about beliefs. I think, obviously it helps to aim big initially, right? Because if initially you aim for a smaller niche, then this is what you will get, right? So that's probably the key. Because I think one of the things about Novakid, we always from the very beginning, we started building a global company. That's what helped Novakid to be what it is today. And a lot of competitors in our space, they localize very early on. They start with building, basically a school for Poland. So we have a pretty strong competitor, for example, in Poland. We have a pretty strong competitor in Russia. We have competitors in other places too. But the problem with that is, you're limited by that market then only, right? So there's only so much you can grow. And I think thinking really very early on, thinking about like what the end game is, that's very helpful. to grow to this kind of scale. And it is possible to grow this scale businesses in one market. I mean, there's definitely examples of that. But again, you need to make sure that the market is big enough to actually sustain something that is over $100 million ARR. Like if you're like somewhere in Slovenia or somewhere in Finland, like you really have to think hard. Like, is there really a market for a company that big?
Yeah. No, I was just thinking because here's how I saw your kind of talking. You said when I started, we get some traction. But then I guess you had the belief that you need to raise money to kind of expand. Or maybe you also maybe can elaborate maybe how much money you spend on ads, because some businesses are like never gonna reach bigger numbers because they're afraid of some beliefs in terms of, let's say, advertising, in terms of raising capital, or do you need it or you don't. Maybe I can do it slowly, all the, like that. That's where I want to go. I want to let you kind of go there.
Yeah, I think unless you hit like a really gold mine in terms of marketing, like ultra low CAC, then most likely you will need a capital. I mean, that's definitely one. If somebody thinks that, oh, I can do it myself, we can do it self-funded, then probably you're not going to hit these numbers. Although, I mean, there are examples of this happening for sure. But it's the likelihood, I would say, is definitely much higher if you have capital partners.
Maybe looking back now, if let's say Novakids doesn't raise money, you keep more equity. Where is Novakid now? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think we would be nearly as big today if without venture capital support. Because as I said, timing is really critical, right? And when we were approaching COVID, it was critical for us to have enough money in the bank to be able to fund all this growth that was happening, right? We would not benefit from this tailwind as much as we have benefited if we did not have capital to do it. So I think that was critical in our case.
And what about the marketing beliefs? Maybe what have you seen? Like how much percentage of your top line you need to allocate to marketing to even have this capacity to be a high growth startup?
I think it really I don't think there's really a single recipe for that. This can be pretty high. Could be as high as 50% of your revenue going into marketing if you want to grow. I would say really initially what you should be doing is allocating every single dollar that you can to your marketing, right? Because it makes sense, right? If you want to grow, then I mean this is usually the most efficient and the most quick lever to grow is spend more dollars on marketing. Obviously, you need to do it in a smart way, not just kind of push it in there and hope for the best. But that's usually the case, and this is what capital allows you to do. Is basically it allows you to push this a lot more, so you don't have to. You're not limited by your revenue early on. When your revenue is small, there's only so much you can allocate to marketing, right? And if you have a capital partner, if you have a venture fund behind you, then you can push it. You can basically double your spend. You can triple your spend, and sustain it for until your revenue actually catches up to make this like a sustainable story.
What channels maybe have you tried, done, and where you see great success? And what channels are right now the most kind of, I guess, getting the most customers for you right now?
We purely digital advertising, so we don't use anything other than digital. And I think in our case, definitely influencer marketing has been a very strong channel that we leveraged and we continue leveraging today. But other than that, it's pretty much a mix. I wouldn't say there's one channel that we just do and that works the best. It's you have to do like at this scale that we are right now. You have to do like all of them, to be honest. There are some which I would say that we are still not good at. I'm not convinced that they just don't work. It's just, we didn't get to that. So like, for example, TikTok, we have not used it a lot. So we're mostly kind of Instagram shop at this point as far as the marketing goes. YouTube, I would say we're probably underinvested in there as well. So for us, for the moment, basically Instagram, and because a lot of decision makers in our case are actually women. So basically all the platforms where women are more dominant usually work better for us, which, in today's world is basically Instagram.
Maxim, I have this huge itch to ask you this question. How much money per month do you spend on marketing, on digital marketing?
Well, you can basically, divide our ARR and take like 50%, and you'll get a rough idea of what it is. So basically, it's millions of dollars every month.
Wow. Yeah, but that's I think this many people need to kind of grasp this understanding, because at least for me, when I started, and I'm still struggling with this, it's a huge mindset shift, in my opinion, for many people to kind of allow that to just happen. Because I can imagine for you also in the business, not every month you get back the same amount you got last month back from ads, let's say, right? It's going to be fluctuating, right?
Yeah, well, we have our goals where, so usually in our business, we look at 6 months LTV as a yardstick. So basically, we expect to recoup our marketing investment from each customer within 6 months. Obviously, for some businesses, it can be, needs to be faster, or slower. So we have a higher, like a longer LTV business, so we can afford a little bit longer cycle. But you need to look at your kind of business, at how long customers usually stay with you, and then decide like what makes sense. Obviously, there's this rule of thumb of overall LTV to CAC should be 3 or 4x. That's what you should be shooting for. And I think that really is the most helpful way of thinking of this. Like, how much should I spend on marketing? Well, look at your unit economics, and you can work your way backwards to how much you should be spending on marketing every month.
Interesting. What do you think right now? Because I recently, when I knew I will have you on the show, I was like looking for learn English, and a lot of ads I saw are these like AI tutors, tutors where there's like, I guess AI is teaching you how to speak better. Like, what are you maybe using AI wise in Novakids, and what have you seen in the marketplace? Are we going to replace teachers completely, or what's going to happen?
AI is definitely going to be a big component. So today, as part of Novakid product, we also have AI tutor it's a very cute panda that helps kids to practice their English. And we actually are ready today. So for kids, so we're testing on some fraction of our customers, and we see that kids who engage with it, actually, their speaking practice is doubled thanks to AI tutor. So basically, as much as they practice with live teacher, they practice again the same amount with AI tutor. So that's a huge benefit of introducing that. And we will continue doing this. So we're also expanding our kind of self-learning, pure self-learning offering, which will also be centered around AI companions for kids. I think it's definitely the future. It's definitely coming. I think the teachers will stay. I think this experience will still be valued by parents, and kids will enjoy it too. But AI is definitely coming, and it will be just boosting the learning, because it's super convenient. It's so convenient. It's very friendly. Like this panda is so friendly. I mean, you could not believe it. It's available 24/7, so you can call it up anytime you feel like it. It has so many ideas how to spend time with you, right? Well, obviously we program different scenarios, different quests and challenges, and so on. So I think for kids, it's definitely a great experience, and it's going to continue to grow.
I want to learn what is your approach, because you are helping people to learn faster. Okay, it's kids, English, but still, for entrepreneurs or for yourself, how do we learn better? Like, what do we need to learn better? Like, what are the things that maybe we have forgotten that we need to remind ourselves?
um, you mean like in terms of everyday learning?
Yeah, like us, because entrepreneurship is also like I guess a skill, a game,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
you need to learn. Many people forget to learn, and that's why they're stuck. You know.
I think, to some degree, first of all, I believe it's highly individual. Different people learn in very differently, right? So some people are very visual thinkers, some people are more um, kind of number thinkers, and so on and so forth. So I think it probably begins with understanding really who you are, like what kind of person are you, how do you think, and just taking it from there. Because for me, for example, I discovered that I'm rather visual thinker. So, but I studied at the technical university, right? So I was excellent at maths, at physics, and nobody would say I was a visual thinker, right? But at some point, I just realized that a lot of times when I think of ideas, they just visualize in my mind. I have like visuals. I also realize that sometimes things just connect in my mind when I kind of absorb information, and at some point it just kind of clicks. It's that suddenly some dots connect, as they say, and just observe how you operate and try to nurture it. So in my case, for this kind of dot connecting thing, just absorb data, right? So like read books, read news articles, and so on, and then you basically nurture it, and then it gives you a result, right? So the dots start to connect because you actually give some data on the input to it. So I think understanding how you work and nurturing that's probably the key. That would be
Okay.
my recommendation.
Interesting. Maybe the last two things. It fascinates me that in the industry times, it used to be okay. In 20 years, you can build 100 million company. Then in the .com years, it used to be 5 to 10 years you can build 100 million company. Now in the AI age, you can build it maybe in 3 to 12 months, because there are companies like Lovable that reach this
Mhm.
number in, I guess, 8 months or something like that. Maybe I'm mistaking.
Mhm.
What would you do, Maxim? Because you have the experience of doing it. What would you do if you had to start over right now in 2025, 2026, in this AI native age? How would you build the business differently, or what would you do differently if you're right now starting?
Well, I would definitely start with AI tutoring component. So I would. So obviously, when we started, teachers was kind of the best way to
Yeah, right.
bring learning online. And I think I would, if we were starting today, we would start with AI tutor, and maybe bringing teachers later. So it's kind of what do you prioritize in your product first? So yeah, for sure. It's amazing technology. It has a lot of positives. So I would start that. Would that bring you, 12 months growth to 100 million ARR? Uh, Maybe, but highly unlikely. I think it's still, maybe ed tech is not quite as sexy in a way, like fast growing. There's still a lot of kind of consumer habits that you need to work against in many ways, that there's a lot of skepticism from the parents that you need to overcome. So it may not happen that quickly, but I think it still could yield this. In fact, this is exactly what we're doing. So at Novakid, we actually have an internal startup called Novapals, which is essentially building Novakid uh, kind of if we would be building it today, right? Um,
Okay.
AI first product.
Oh. And maybe okay. So I wanna. I'm like super curious to talk with you. Um, on your daily routine. What do you do right now? Where does your focus go? Like, what's your responsibilities?
Uh, well, I'm usually so I spend a lot of time coaching the team and just kind of speaking to them, trying to understand, what kind of issues they're facing, seeing if I can help in any ways. Um, I actually, read quite a bit. Uh, just news articles, latest news on edtech, and not only that, AI. I spend quite a bit of time talking to ChatGPT and Gemini, using mostly it for like a very kind of lightweight research. So basically, if you need some numbers like estimates, etc., I think it's an excellent tool to actually get something together that is very rough and ballpark, but it can actually enable you to, take the next step in your thinking. Uh, um, so that's also part of it. So I would say really kind of enabling the team. That's kind of the first thing, and trying to look around the corner a little bit by just seeing what's happening and you know again identify opportunities and pick the right time to actually act on them within the company.
Cool. Maxim, if
But
you
also
have
taking care of
right,
myself. I think that's very important is as an entrepreneur a lot of people forget about themselves, right? So obviously this has also to be a daily routine. So I'm doing a lot of stuff to really take care of myself, do things that I like. Well, first of all, get a good sleep. Start with that. So I try to do it every night if I can. Secondly, eat well, get be healthy food, um, do what you like in terms of sport and exercise. So 1 year ago I picked up running. I never was a runner before that, but then suddenly out of nowhere I just realized I actually enjoy it. So I started doing that regularly. So I also have some other hobbies. So really make sure that you take care of yourself, not just of your business, of your team, etc. Because it's like this. In the airplanes, first you put on the mask on yourself, then on your kid. Exactly the same thing. Make sure there's a mask on you.
Maxim, imagine we have right now, let's say, a room of 50 entrepreneurs, all hungry, all looking to make, build something meaningful and something useful to the
Mhm.
world. What would be your advice to them? And some of them have a business, some of them don't. Some of them have ideas, some of them don't. No, they have something proven or not. But what would you say to them? If they look to you as an inspiring role model, what would you say to them?
Um, well, I would say first of all, do it only if you're really kind of passionate about it. At least for me, that's how I work. I don't think I would have, because it's a long journey with a lot of ups and downs. So if you're not passionate about what you're doing, you're probably going to feel miserable especially during the down moments. Maybe you'll feel good at the up moments, but down moments will kill you. So I think that's important. And the next one is just, take one step at a time. I mean, it's think big, but take one step at a time. Everybody has done like this. So, I mean, even like huge companies today, like ChatGPT or whatever, if you talk to their founders, like initially they were just a couple of guys next to a computer just tinkering with stuff, right? So even every big thing starts small, and your thing could as well be it. Just take one step at a time, make it bigger incrementally, and it will get there.
Cool. Maxim, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for sharing your insights and lessons.
Thank you. I hope it will be helpful.